Hey ladies, I can't see anyone's faces today. You've all blocked me out. Hey hun, there's Chili. Oh look, I can see everyone now.
Okay.
Oh look, there's Stephen. He's trying to get in on the weekly webinar. Get out, you. Oh,
Go away.
No. Out you go.
You just wanted to say hello, really.
Oh, bless him. So for everyone, Cara, her partner Steve is with another coach, and it's like a competition between what we're going to achieve and what they're going to achieve. But obviously, we're going to win.
Of course.
Yeah, obviously. Right, I'll give it a few minutes, ladies. I'll just wait for some other people to join. People do like to come in late. I'll check the Facebook group as well, because sometimes people struggle to find the link. I think I'm just inclined to crack on, actually. And as we're quite a small group tonight, I reckon we should all just do an intro, just to share with me something that you're proud of that you've achieved since we last did last Wednesday's webinar. Cara, shoot me. You go first.
Oh gosh, I don't really. Well, proud of my achievements with my weight loss this week, and just sticking to my diet plan, really. And staying on track.
Good, that's a good one. Tilly?
Hello. Probably most proud of sticking to the meal plan, because it's been a bit of a tough kind of week trying to get into a routine, but yeah, I'm doing better this week, so it's all good.
If you can do it now, hun, you can do it anytime.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you found that shopping's been a lot easier now? I have. Tesco's has everything now.
Yeah, we're fine shopping wise, so yeah, it's all good.
Perfect, good job. Claire? Oh, you have to take us.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. It was my birthday on Saturday, and despite that, I still lost a bit of weight, so that was great.
Yeah, check-in was superb. I was like, this girl's birthday was on Saturday. She checked in and she had like an amazing result. I was like, girl, you're on fire. Roxy?
Hi, everyone. So I was quite proud of looking at my first photo and my progress photo, and just took your advice and rewarded myself with a pair of new trainers.
Nice. Let's see them. Go find them. Show me.
Oh, okay. I'll be right back.
Love this.
There they are.
Oh, good taste. Very nice. Have you not worn them yet?
No, not yet. I want to wear them a little bit inside before I go outside, just to make sure that I break them in, because when I run, sometimes I get pains when I get new trainers.
Yeah,
So
no, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll do a few workouts inside.
Perfect. Well, good job. Already taking action on what we spoke about last week. I absolutely love this. I hope everyone else has identified what their presents are going to be and what milestones we need to hit to get those presents. And when you do get these presents, can you please bring them onto the webinars and show them to us, please? So when you do buy yourself something, please share it. Jenna, hello, my dear. That made you jump. Okay, so as we're quite a small group, I just wanted everyone to actually just come on an intro and share something positive that you've achieved this week since last week's webinar.
In life, or
I mean, in relation to probably this journey, but I mean, you go for it. You can free ball it if you want.
I think probably I think last week I was mainly doing sort of home workouts and runs, and I just didn't feel satisfied. Like I felt like I was really like, even though I think I worked out 6 days, I went for a 10K run, a 5K run, like nothing was like giving me the high that I would get from the gym. So this week I've definitely, the end of last week and the whole of this week, I'm going to try and do weight-based workouts. And I do feel the high from that. I do feel like I've achieved something. So I guess it's just finding a new normal. I didn't think I would miss the weights as much.
I know, how crazy is this? How crazy is this, right?
And I can't even buy anything either. Like, I've tried to buy any sort of weights other than my kettlebells that I've got, and I can't, nothing is in stock.
How mental is this though? Because let's rewind 6 months when we first had a consult, and I was like, Jenna, how do you feel about weight-based training?
I know.
So it just shows everyone, it just shows like how much you can transition and how it really can become, you know, your golden key to keeping you feeling fabulous throughout the week. And ladies, I'm exactly the same as Jenna. I'm like this. Because I'm exactly the same, you know, I absolutely love my weight-based training. And actually that's why I went live on the group this week and said, ladies, we've got to identify signing up for something fitness, exercise related that does scare you a little bit. Because, you know, then you are going to feel that beneficial, you know, positivity on the back end of it. So for me, you know, I am a bodybuilder in past. So for me, you know, running actually does give me quite a good high, but it has to be a taxing distance for my personal record. So that's why I signed myself up for that on that day, because I needed it the most. I was struggling mentally. I was tired and I just needed something to put me in a really positive place. So it's always like identifying. It's great you identified that really quickly, Jenna.
I was really surprised, actually, really surprised. But I think I'm glad I identified it quickly, because I think it was driving me a bit bonkers, to be honest. And it was really, really getting me down, even though I've got quite a structured sort of day because of everything I sort of need to do in a day. I'm quite routine in terms of I get up, I feed the dog, I do a workout, I walk the dog, and it's like I'm quite structured. But yet still in the afternoon I was like, don't feel I've achieved anything. And even if I'm hitting like 21,000 steps, I still don't feel like I've achieved anything.
Everyone, people on this call are going to be like, what? 21,000?
It just shows you how like important.
What stimulates your mind.
Yeah. And also how much your mind controls you, I guess, and how you're feeling completely. Like, even though you've got stats in front of you, yes, I've worked out this much, I've done this much, and yet nothing. Crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, right. Next, Sarah. As we're a smaller group today, everyone's coming on and look at her face. Everyone's coming on and doing their own little intro to share something positive that you've achieved over the last week since we were on last week's webinar. Off audio, let's go.
All right, Dave. How many have you got on tonight?
I can't see on my top row, but go on, off you go. Tell me something.
So something I have done is I have continued on cutting my caffeine. So about a month ago, I was on 8 cups of tea a day, not because I really needed them, but because it was just a bit of a habit. And I've got down to 2. And my last one is 12 o'clock, which is what you suggested.
That is fantastic. And that was hard. I mean, anyone that knows what it's like to detox off a high intake of caffeine, the headaches and how it genuinely makes you feel initially is hard. And that's really difficult. I know Cara gets that as well. So yeah, well done, because that's a big step, and it will enable you to really tune into your hunger signaling whilst you haven't got large caffeine dumps going in throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's such a positive move. You've been better.
What it does mean is that I'm drinking more other fluids. So I'm drinking more herbal teas or plain water. So that's got to be a good thing anyway, just to replace each one of those with another drink.
You're hydrated instead of dehydrating. So it's absolutely ideal. Fabulous. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
I can't believe it's been a month.
I know, nearly, yeah.
Yeah, nearly. Wow, time flies.
I know.
Sarah started just before the coronavirus, bless her, and she's absolutely nailed it. Anyway, no more of the C word from this moment on.
No.
So today we're getting a bit geeky, and we are exploring hormones and how important they are in conjunction with your female fat loss. Okay, so what I'm not going to do is bore you to tears going too in depth. What I want to try and do is articulate and enable you to understand what I'm trying to share with you and what happens to your body throughout a 4-week cycle. So sometimes it's quite difficult because in the science world they use lots of confusing words. So I've tried to put it in a presentation. It's not going to take a huge amount of time, and I'm splitting it into 2 parts. I don't know if you're part 1, I'm going to do a part 2, because otherwise it's quite a lot of information to take on in one go. So I'll take you through, and it shouldn't be hugely time consuming, but it will enable you to really understand what's going on throughout, you know, your monthly cycles. Now, it depends on everyone where you're at in regards to hormonal modifiers, and that's something I'll cover in part 2. For instance, if you're on birth control, been through the menopause, or if you have like hypothalamic amenorrhea, so you're not having a regular cycle, or PCOS or things like that, I will cover that in a separate webinar, so we can just break it up so it's not too much in one go. But I think you're going to find it super interesting, actually, and it's going to really enable you to understand why you're hungry at certain times of the month. So let's shoot on. Okay. Oh no, I don't want to do that. There we go. Can everyone see okay? Can you give me a thumbs up? All good. Okay, perfect. If you've got any questions or want to ask me anything, just pop up in the chat and it will pop up on my screen. When I'm going to do screen share, I can't see anything else, bar your lovely face at the bottom. Okay, so today is fundamentally about understanding what goes on inside your body throughout your cycle, throughout now everyone has different lengths of cycles, so I'm not going to say like 28 days or whatever, because there's no right or wrong length of time in regards to your cycles, but as a monthly whole, we're going to just delve into what actually happens to your body throughout that month. So intro to hormones, we'll talk about a few different specific hormones in conjunction with fat loss. So there's lots of different hormones, but we're not going to talk about all of them, just the relevant ones. How they affect food signaling, hunger, and your lack of control in some times of the month for some people, and why that happens. And also, I guess most importantly, I want to just give you the education and the understanding of, you know, when you are going through changes and why they're happening. Because if you understand why they're happening, it's easier to actually go, no, I'm cool, I don't need to delve into the biscuits, or no, this isn't a true craving, I'm not starving, I'm not hungry. And that education is priceless. It's truly, truly priceless. So that's what we're going to cover today. But most importantly, so you can all stop beating yourself up, because that is the truth when it comes to hormonal eating. So we'll cover androgen. So I'm just picking out testosterone today, and this is a great one to focus on. And actually, some of us have estrogen dominance or testosterone dominance, and it's hard to actually know unless you have blood work. And I don't suggest that any of you need to go off for blood work. Unless there was other issues going on, but it actually does make a difference to fat patterning and where you hold fat on your composition. But for some women, say women with PCOS, depending on how it's been diagnosed, may have elevated testosterone levels. So it is anabolic. So it supports you to build muscle, but androgenic. So that's where we start to see the male-like symptoms, which like increased body hair, and that fat distribution around the midsection. That's down to testosterone. It's not estrogen. A lot of people get caught up thinking it's to do with estrogen dominance, and it's not. It's to do with testosterone. So it can also impair insulin sensitivity. So when you read a lot about people with PCOS, they'll normally be insulin resistant, which is in conjunction with elevated testosterone levels. But as a positive, that's why people with PCOS tend to be able to build muscle really, really well. So I've got PCOS, and I've always been able to build muscle tissue pretty quickly, whereas other people necessarily not as quickly. So there is actually benefits, and you'll find that in a lot of athletes, a lot of them potentially do have PCOS. And actually, in like strength-based training and Olympic lifting world, coaches would actually go out and look for women with like PCOS, because they would gain strength quicker, and they would be stronger athletes, better performing athletes. So there is some positives to actually sometimes having, you know, something like PCOS or having androgen dominance in some form. But there is some negatives in the sense that, like for me, I get lots of facial hair. I've always had it for a very long time because I fair, can't have it lazy. Oh, Sarah, can I just get you to
Sorry.
That's all right, don't worry. That's okay, don't worry. So I've had to have electrolysis for a long time, and that's one of the negatives. But you know, as a positive, it enabled me to build loads of muscle, which was great when I was competing. So swings and roundabouts, can't always have it all. But interestingly, we'll just do something quickly. So the finger test. Now this is all to do with exposing, working out what you're exposed to when you're in the womb, whether you were exposed to more testosterone or more estrogen. So if your index finger is longer than your ring finger, this signifies heightened exposure to testosterone. So what are we all? So if this finger is longer than this finger, you're exposed to more testosterone. Show me your fingers. Oh, Sarah, you're like me. You're pretty much the same. Ah, yeah. Look at yours, Cara. That's significant, yeah? Yeah. Jenna, you're an estrogen baby. Roxy, I didn't see yours. Yeah, you're like me and Sarah. Sort of in the middle. So that's, you can go around and ask people, show me your fingers. You'll be able to start diagnosing people. Okay, so that tells you a little bit about testosterone. And that's why when women go through menopause, they suddenly completely, the estrogen drops through the floor, and then that tends to lead to that carrying around the midsection, which is actually from, you know, the testosterone levels, but having a reduced level of estrogen. So I'll come on to fat patterning when we talk about estrogen. So that just gives you a little bit about testosterone. But also another thing, up to now, a lot of research that's been done is predominantly male. So all of the research is where we gain all of our data about what works for fat loss and what doesn't. Like 4 out of 5 research is done on male. So there's not a huge amount around females. And it's only recently that we've actually started to see trusted studies predominantly on females. But there's still not a huge amount out there. But it's important to understand that us as females, you know, we are very different to males, and we can't be treated in the same way throughout our fat loss journeys. Right. Okay, so primary female sex hormone is obviously estrogen. So development of female secondary sexual characteristics. So fat patterning, boobs, estrogen builds the boobs, gives us the boobs. And actually it plays a huge part in where we store our fat. So testosterone will hold around the middle, but if you're estrogen dominant, you'll tend to hold around your thighs and your hip area. Now this is actually a safer place to hold because it's not around your vital organs, okay, on your midsection. So what I hear is women go, oh, I hate my butt, I hate my thighs, you know, I can't lose weight on my legs. And I'm like, but girl, this is almost like healthy fat, because the fat that we carry around our hips and our thighs is actually the fat we utilize when we need energy for breast milk. So I try and actually turn it on its head and go, we can change those thighs and that butt, but I want you to love and appreciate, because actually the reason it's there is so we can nurse, you know, and that's predominantly what we are on the planet for. So what you'll find with people that are more estrogen dominant is they'll carry around their lower body, not so much around their midsection. and it's a healthier standpoint because obviously it does protect your organs. Obviously increased bone densities. Estrogen's great for increased bone density. Lots of people that come out of the menopause might go on HRT to protect their bones, but by taking up weight-based training now, you know, you're increasing your bone density, and this is so fab. The earlier you can start weight-based training, the better. Appetite. So this is a really interesting thing, and actually so many people give estrogen bad press. They're like, oh, estrogen levels, oh, estrogen's bad. It's not. Like, estrogen comes with a lot of positives. There's another hormone that's bad, but we're going to come on to that. But actually, estrogen as a whole is pretty good in conjunction with fat loss. So it encourages leptin production. Now, we actually produce leptin in our fat cells. So leptin is a hormone that signals that we are full up. Okay, so leptin actually is a godsend because it's the hormone that triggers to say, I'm full up, I don't need any more food. And isn't it funny that it comes from our fat cells? So when you go through a dieting phase, okay, it's not so important when you're coming down to say 20% body fat, but when you start getting leaner than 20% body fat and you're starting to, for instance, like when I would potentially be like 6 weeks out from my competitions, I would start to have big issues because I wouldn't have enough fat cells, therefore I wouldn't release as much leptin, therefore I'd be really hungry. Okay, so and there is dieting strategies around how to sort of manage leptin levels and so forth, but estrogen creates leptin, okay, so, and leptin enables us to feel full. So we like leptin. Leptin's a good hormone. We like leptin. Another one is cognition and mental function. Like, I don't know if, like for me, I had postmenopausal estrogen levels after I was competing due to sheer fat loss and, you know, getting so lean. But it had a huge impact on my cognition. It was awful. I had like severe memory loss. I literally felt like a cabbage. So yeah, it has a huge effect on how you feel, think, memory, things like that. And your serotonin and dopamine levels, I'm sure you've probably tuned into this if you've looked into, you know, mindfulness and so forth in the past. But serotonin and dopamine are hugely reliant on your estrogen levels. And serotonin, for instance, for your mood, for your appetite. So low levels is going to make you more hungry. Same with dopamine, it will stimulate cravings for high calorie, high sugar food. So when estrogen is high, both of these are high as well, so you know, it provides us with feeling really good. But when estrogen drops, which it does throughout your cycle, which we'll come on to, that's when we might start seeing those carb cravings increase, and you know, moods start to digress, which is in conjunction with your serotonin and your dopamine. Am I going at an okay pace here? Okay, cool, perfect. And most importantly as well, estrogen increases your insulin sensitivity. So insulin is a wicked hormone. Insulin is responsible for taking sugars and delivering them into your muscle cells, okay? And having insulin sensitivity is great because it means that the sugar is being utilized as energy instead of being stored as fat. So estrogen is great because it enables you to be a lot more sensitive to these carbohydrates, to utilize them in the right way instead of storing them. So we like it. We like estrogen. Yes. Yes. Now the culprit is progesterone. The evil of the two, 100%, without doubt. So progesterone has a load of its own negative effects, but it also cancels out estrogen's positive effects. So it has like a double negative. Now, what I'll show you throughout like your monthly cycle is the changes that happen with your progesterone and your estrogen, because one goes up, one goes down, and so forth. I'm going to show you all of that. But I thought I'd just point out the positives and negatives of each hormone first. So progesterone actually makes you insulin resistant. So flip it on its head. Instead of insulin sensitivity, we become resistant. So our body suddenly becomes not very good at utilizing sugar for energy and ends up storing it as fat. And this is a byproduct. It just unstabilizes your blood sugar and then leads to additional craving, makes you more hungry. So it's like a flip on the head. Now, it also activates ASP, which is a key enzyme in storing fat within fat cells and within your muscles, okay? So it literally switches on an enzyme that says, I'm going to store fat. So progesterone is not our friend. And it also affects training progressions. So when we have elevated progesterone levels, our body finds it pretty tough to be able to grow new muscle tissues. And this is down to progesterone binding onto receptors, okay, that would normally bind onto testosterone. Now remember, testosterone is the hormone that enables us to build muscle. Okay, so if testosterone hasn't got anywhere to bind because progesterone has binded on to that receptor, okay, we find it really hard to build muscle. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. There is one positive to progesterone though. That when we have elevated progesterone levels, we actually burn more calories. So it increases our resting metabolic rate. And that is the amount of calories that you burn before you get out of bed or do any form of activity, okay? And this is because you have an elevated temperature. Progesterone will elevate your temperature, which means that you burn more calories, okay? So when we've got elevated progesterone levels, there is this small interim where we are actually burning a few more calories. I'll come on to how many and when it happens. But yeah, that's the positive of progesterone. But the problem is, in fact, I'll come on to that on the next slide. Okay, cool. So this just gives you an idea of what your cycle would look like, okay, depending on how many days of your cycle. I don't know, you all have varied lengths. But it just shows you what goes on throughout your cycle, okay? So we have a pretty stagnant progesterone in the first half, okay? And then it hugely elevates and then comes back down right at the end, okay? And this is the problem. This is the problem. So in your luteal phase, this is where we start walking into a few issues, okay? And the thing is that for some of us, we don't get hugely affected. And that's something really important to point out, actually, that, not everyone suffers from negative symptoms in conjunction with feeling hungry or, low mood or lack of performance in the gym. Some people just aren't affected. But lots of people are, and that's why I'm doing this, because, and even if you're not affected now, you might be affected down the line. So it's important to, understand what happens throughout that cycle and how much progesterone changes throughout the second cycle. So that gives you an idea there. Now, this is a great little chart, and I'm sorry the quality isn't great, but I love it so much. It's in one of my fantastic study books that I just took a picture and popped it in. But this is really interesting. So there's some phases here that we'll discuss in more detail. For instance, like fuel at rest and fuel during exercise. It says carbs, fat, so forth. We're going to explore that in a separate webinar because that's fairly detailed as to how your body actually metabolizes fat and how your body actually utilizes fuel. But what I want to show you is which hormones are playing their part when they're most dominant. When you have insulin sensitivity, so remember, insulin sensitivity is when your body utilizes sugar and utilizes it as energy instead of storing it as fat. So in the first half of your cycle, that's when your body's really good at doing that, okay? Metabolic rate, as we just spoke about, normal, and then it increases when progesterone elevates up in the second half of your cycle. Hunger, lowered again, increases in the second half of your cycle. Blood glucose, stable, unstable. So what's that going to do? That's going to make you feel yuck, blah, oh, I want to eat some more because I've crashed in energy, okay? Again, in the second half of your cycle. Water retention, we'll come on to this. I'll tell you a little bit more about this. But again, we're going to experience differences in your water retention throughout the cycle, more so in the back end. Muscle growth, again, great in the first couple of weeks, and then we'll digress in the second couple of weeks. Now, this is the physiological proof here, but that doesn't mean to say that you're not going to have productive gym sessions in the second half of the month, okay? Because a lot of it is in here. But it just might not be the sessions where you're like, oh my God, I killed it. Or, oh my God, I got a PB or so forth. But it's great because then you walk out and you're like, well, I know I didn't get a PB. I know I didn't get a PB because, you know, I'm in the second half of my cycle here and you know, it makes sense. So this is a great little chart, and you can go back and watch this on replay, or take a picture of this if you want to, and it will allow you to really dial into you know, different areas of which hormones are playing their part throughout your cycles. Is that useful? Yeah, cool. Okay, so yeah, I've basically just summarized here what happens throughout your cycles. We've pretty much been through it on that chart, but if you wanted it sort of a written explanation of what is going on throughout. Now, the length of the early and late follicle phase and the luteal phase, second half, will depend on you as an individual and what your cycle looks like, but it's great to identify where you're at throughout that cycle on a 4-week window. So it's really interesting as well, because I do want to just go back and talk about, oh good, I can go back. Okay, so I want to talk about water retention a little bit. Oh, that's my crazy lady, don't you see, hey? She's great. Okay, so water retention, interestingly, is going to fall that week prem of your period. And what happens is when your progesterone drops, that's when we're prone to having an inflammation of water. And I'm going to point out on this because it's so important, because it's in conjunction with scale readings. So we can go to my crazy lady now. So it's really important in the last 2 weeks to be mindful that you are not a crazy human being, okay? You're literally not a crazy human being. You might feel like one, but you're not. Like, it's completely normal. But the problem is that we don't, I mean, bar me delivering this webinar, no one taught this to me in my fat loss journey. You know, I had no idea about any of this. I just sat there and was like, why are you so hungry? You're a pig. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, but these are the fundamental factors that you need to understand, because when you're sat in that or sat on that sofa and you're like, oh my God, I just want to eat a whole dairy milk. Why am I like this? Then you can actually gain some understanding. You go, well, I'm like this because I've got insulin resistance at the moment, you know, and so forth. Like, you can actually list out and be like, well, Emily said, da, da, da. And that's what you need to be doing. You need to rationalize it, and then it's easier to prevent these things from happening. I didn't talk about calories burned. Okay, so I'm going to go back, sorry. Okay, so when we go into having elevated progesterone levels in the second half of our cycle, we will be burning more calories, but this is not an excuse to go and eat everything, because that will outweigh the calories burned. Now, when I say that we're burning more calories, we're talking maybe like 10%. I'd say depends on the person, really. I couldn't give an exact set amount, but I'd say around probably 10% of your daily amount. Now, as a byproduct of this, you may be burning more calories, but you're going to be more hungry and you're going to have unstable glucose. So, you know, the thing is that in fat loss, what you can do is you can utilize this window as an opportunity to actually burn more fat, burn more calories, because, you know, or you can use it as an opportunity to eat a little more. Now, I have never to this day given someone, say 200 more calories on the week pre-period, because I've never needed to as a coach. But if I had someone that was experiencing severe symptoms in conjunction with keeping consistent week prior, then I would enroll it. So I would enroll a completely different setup with a client pre-period. This is only something I can offer to my bespoke clients, obviously, because I work with you one-to-one. And you know, everything's completely bespoke, and I'm in contact with you daily. So that's something I would enroll, because it would maybe enable that person to be more consistent and more accountable, and even more, just more so, the psychological connection with, I get more food, so it's fine. I don't need to panic. So that's the only time that I would integrate that in. If other than that, I would utilize that window in the back of my head, well, you all know now, in the back of my head, knowing, this is a window where she'll be burning a few more calories. Win-win. We're on a fat loss journey. This is win-win. Okay, so that just gives you a bit of an idea, but there is methods that we can put in place pre-period, you know, if hunger and accountability is something that we really do struggle with, but ideally we want to be utilizing that window as just, you know, towards the fat loss pot as much as we possibly can. Perfect. So yeah, back to my crazy lady. So we need to just understand and accept that you will have increased hunger, and you know, there may be a chance that performance is slightly compromised in the gym, and when I say that, that might just simply be energy, it might be strength, so forth, but we still obviously need to be turning up, but it just means that we won't be necessarily pushing. So with people that really do struggle with performance related goals in the back end of their cycling month, I would always recommend, you know, putting a lot of emphasis in going in and making sure that we're pushing for PBs at the beginning of the month. That's definitely something that I would, of their month, that I would instruct as a coach. Again, water retention and the scale weight. So what happens with progesterone when it drops back down? Inflammation of water. Water is so heavy, okay, in the body. And this is going to have a huge effect on your scale readings. Okay, now for some people, they don't tend to get, you know, fluctuations with scale readings. They don't tend to hold water, but a lot of us do. I do. Absolutely 100%. So week prior to period, your scale readings are almost just, I mean, I like the data, but it's inaccurate data. It's not accurate data. And actually, from a scale reading perspective, just to touch on this, scale readings only become accurate and relevant when you've done a full month of scale readings, okay? Not a week, not two, a full month of scale readings, because then we've seen your body move through all of the phases, okay? So suddenly it becomes accurate, right? Because we've got 4 weeks of data. Has to be on the same scale in the same place, okay? And you have to be doing it at the same time after your morning wee in the morning. Recently I've heard a lot of people saying, well, the gym scales read in at this, and I've heard it so much over the last couple of weeks, or I weighed in different last week, and then I've gone, well, when did you weigh in? Well, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. It's so inaccurate, because the volume of food you would have had and your liquids would have been different, you know, so we have to be consistent. Otherwise you're setting yourself up to just, like, you know, beat yourself up mentally, okay? And actually, whilst I'm on this call, okay, so with scale readings and so forth, you've invested in this journey because you've invested in me, Jessie, so forth, to analyze that data and deliver what you need, okay? So don't you stress about that number, okay? You only stress when your coach stresses, and if your coach isn't stressing, you definitely do not need to be stressing, okay? And that's why you invest in me. So we need to try and understand that scale reading is literally just a form of data, okay, and it will fluctuate in conjunction with your progesterone if you are especially prone to holding on to water. And following on to that, you may, depending on your body fat percentage, you may feel like you feel a bit squodgy. So I know week prior to coming on, you know, I'll know because my midsection is different. I just know that. Especially the more time, you know, you spend going through this journey, you'll become more in tune with how your composition looks. And I like to call it fluffy. I tend to look a little bit fluffy before I come on my cycle. And I'm like, oh, that's, well, because I lost my cycle for so long, I literally love everything to do with my symptoms leading up to my cycle. I'm like, yes. So for me, I fully embrace. I love that soft, fluffy squodginess, because I'm like, yes, my cycle's coming. This is good. Cycles are good. You know, it's good for my bone density. This is good. I want to be a mum. It's good. So, you know, it's embracing those moments and understanding why they're happening. And it is just simply inflammation in conjunction with your cycle. Some of us can have interrupted sleep. second phase, in that luteal phase. So again, if that happens, don't stress about it. Just understand that it's probably in conjunction with your cycles. There is things that we can do to try and, you know, improve your quality of sleep, but it's just important to understand that could be a symptom as a byproduct of being in your luteal phase. Right, next one. Did everyone enjoy my crazy lady? I did a lot. She's good, isn't she? Yeah. Okay, so how do we manage this luteal phase? So I'm gonna solely probably follicular phase. I feel we are going to be okay because we've got a great amount of estrogen going on, and we haven't got all of these negative symptoms going on. So the first 2 weeks tend to be a great window. It tends to be when we are the most outgoing in the choices that we make day by day. You know, how confident, happy we are. The first 2 weeks of your cycles tend to be when we feel like that. They say the last 2 weeks is when we tend to nest and so forth. So the first 2 weeks is when you might want to favour having a busier social calendar because you'll have more energy. Whereas it's good to be mindful that those 2 weeks, it might be more, you know, you might need more TLC, you might need more you time or digital detoxing or self-care. So that's always important to factor in. But logistics wise, focusing on low GI sources so we can stabilize your blood sugar. Now, I program with low GI majority of the time anyway. It doesn't mean that you have to solely have a low GI diet, okay? Because remember, we're not an all or nothing family here. We're all about moderation and making sure that we include everything within our diets, but we have to just include the right portion sizes based on the right food sources. So sugar isn't necessarily bad. It's to do with the glycemic index, okay? And that affects how your insulin transports these carbs. So what we want to try and do is focus on like your wholemeal, your whole grains, things like that, slow release. But majority of the programming that you get through your nutritional intakes focuses on those food sources anyway. So you're in good hands. Do not skip meals, okay, because it's all to do with maintaining your energy levels and not promoting energy crashes. So this is important all the time, but it's especially important in the second half of, you know, your monthly phase. In that luteal phase, we've got to make sure that skipping meals does not happen, okay, because your blood sugar is already unstabilized, so we need to make sure that we're keeping on top of that. Same with protein for satiety. So unbelievably important to make you know, protein really enables you to feel nice and full up. So, you know, for some people I hear like, oh, well, I had the granola for breakfast but I didn't have the yogurt. And I'm like, but the yogurt's got the protein in, okay? And that's going to improve satiety. Whereas if you're just putting granola in on its own, you're just putting a form of carbohydrate in, okay? So we need to make sure that we're matching the two. And same with fiber. So in your luteal phase, if you are someone that really struggles, double up your veggies. Double up your veggies, 100%. Let's go big on the volume, okay? And let's make sure that we're really focusing on fiber. I do have some other supplements that I would recommend. So if you are watching this and you're like, I'm really suffering, you can always put a message on the group under ask on a hashtag, and I'm happy to give you some suggestions on some potential supplements you could use. I'm not big on buying loads of supplements because we don't need them, but there is a few ones that are quite useful that could be beneficial in conjunction with that. My favourite one, accept the hunger is hormonally driven. It's not because you are being starved. And it is really true. I like really true. We have to sit there and be like, because I do it, I have to do it. We have to sit there and be like, this is my hormones. I know I'm not hungry, even though I really, really, really want to eat that or this, but I know it's my hormones. I'm not being starved, okay? And we do have to think about that. You know, none of us are anywhere near being starved. We're all okay. So it's just actually putting our sensible hat on and actually acknowledging, you know, oh, this is my cycle. This is not the fact that I need loads of food. So bank the increased metabolism towards your fat loss results. So when you are, you know, in that interim there, you know, think about the fact that, oh, I am burning a bit more, and you'll probably feel it actually you'll probably feel your increased body temperature. You'll probably know, yeah. So Jenna's nodding her head, like, and sometimes that's the effect that can affect your sleep quality because your temperatures come up. So that's sometimes what happens. So on those days, wear thinner pajamas, you know, have a thinner duvet, whatever, if it does affect your sleep. But you will know in conjunction with your body temperature. And just think to yourself, yes, I'm banking more calories. The problem is that when women haven't got any form of control in their food intakes, whereas you guys, you know, you do, because you've got structures to follow. So this enables us to make sure that we are edging into that deficit even more so with your metabolism. So keeping up your exercise. Okay, so it's one of those things where I'm saying to you that yes, you may feel a bit in regards to your performance in your exercise, but it couldn't be any more important of a time to keep up your exercise, because this is going to help us to enable us to be more in control with our food, because we're going to be away from our cupboards more. I mean, at the moment it's not ideal, but the last thing we need to do is fall out of routine with your training. But keeping that routine in place, you know, that's hugely beneficial. And depending on who you are and so forth, and how it affects you, for a lot of us, me included, especially with the right forms of training and the right training volume, this should dampen your hunger, you know, especially immediately after training. So we just want to try and keep that routine in more than anything. You know, we don't hang up the towel for the last 2 weeks of the month. I mean, that's just no good. We need to keep consistency, because trust me, if you're into your training, which you should be because you're on here, if you take 2 weeks off training and go back, it won't be pretty, ladies. It won't be pretty. You will ache. You will ache, and you will feel like you've lost a load of strength. You haven't. You will regain the strength really quickly. But yeah, if you take 2 weeks off, it won't be pretty. So it's always best to just keep the motion going, keep the traction going. And an example of this is when I went to South Africa in December, we went for like 11 days. And Henry is very good at being like, oh no, I don't need to train. But me, no. Like for me, mentally, I do it because it enables me to feel really good. But for me, I know if I was to not, you know, stimulate my muscles for 10 days, it would be absolute hell. And when I got back to the UK, it would be horrible. And I spend all of this time trying to get really strong via my weight-based training. And I'm not going to suddenly just switch off from that when I go away. So it's really important to try and just keep it as a consistent routine thing that you do week on week, but accept that maybe your performance, you know, it might take a bit of a hit in the last 2 weeks. But saying that, it may not. Okay, this is solely dependent on the individual. It doesn't affect everyone. So yeah, be extra mindful of longer sleeping windows, which is in conjunction with your social diary. So if you are someone that does get massively fatigued in conjunction with your period, please don't sign up for loads of things, loads of social events at the back end of your luteal phase. Let's be kind to the body, and try not to overpromise yourself, especially in that window of time. Whereas the first 2 weeks, crack on, be a party animal, but just be mindful in the last 2 weeks, because sometimes it can just get completely on top of you if your social diary is too much. And you should actually be probably feeling like nesting a bit in the last 2 weeks. So almost like looking ahead at your diary and just making sure you're making the right decisions in conjunction with the month. Potentially accept a softer, less defined look. Okay, so it's completely normal to be softer, as I said before. So, you know, if you feel that you're visually looking a bit different, and last week I could, you know, you might think to yourself, last week I could see, you know, like an oblique or whatever it is, you know, and this week I can't see it, I haven't made progress. Well, that's not true. It just means that you've probably got some inflammation that's holding around your midsection. And majority of the time, we do tend to hold water around our midsection. I mean, it doesn't just suddenly appear here, does it? You know, it appears around your midsection. So if you saw a definition last week, but for some reason this week you didn't, don't panic. It's probably in conjunction with your luteal phase. Oh, there we go. Okay, prep could not be any more key leading up to this time. Okay, like it could not be any more key. I know I say this and I batter on about it, but trust me, it really is the key to golden success. If everything is prepared, especially in your luteal phase, like you're onto a winner. Like prepare to win, always prepare to win. So make sure that at least the last, this luteal phase, that is one of your priorities. And then it is a grab and go, and grab and go is amazing. We're all busy women, we're all doing our own thing. We've all got our own routines. So if you can grab and go your food, that's going to really help the situation. And I just want you to smile for every meal prep and exercise session that you do within this phase. Like seriously. Because there's a lot of people that duck out in this phase. Don't duck out. Never duck out, okay? And especially if you're someone that does really struggle with your symptoms around this time, because it's not easy. It's not easy. But things can massively be improved. And, there's clients that I've worked with that I still work with that came to me with, huge issues in conjunction with having control with food intakes prior to their period, and we've nailed it. I've watched those people progress. One of them is on the call, so it's amazing to see. And just with the right setup, you can really manage these situations, but you need to understand what's going on in the first instance. And after this, you're going to be a wizard. You're going to know everything, so it's perfect. So yeah, that's how we manage it. There is other ways of potentially having a slight juggle around with carb and fat intakes. But again, I would only really start doing that if someone was having severe issues week prior to their period. But that is an option. And actually, the person I was just referring to, that is something I said to her that we could play around with, and we haven't needed to. We literally have not needed to, because she's nailed it. But that is something, that I could implement if needed. So yeah, that's how we manage the sitch. Do we all feel good about that? Cool. Perfect. This is my client spotlight of the week. But Heather is not on the call, and she said she was going to be. But Heather is literally a babe. Hopefully she'll watch this back on replay. So Heather has been with me for maybe 16 weeks, I think. And honestly, she has such a fast-paced career in the city. And for her, it was about just gaining some freedom, in the sense of she had things coming up this year that she wanted to, wear a dress and feel really good for. And as you can see, she sent me this comment. She sent me this message in December at her works do. How good does she look? Doesn't she? She looks so good. So yeah, Heather, and also she massively shows up on the group, and yeah, just super proud of her. So Heather, if you watch this on replay, super proud of you, my love. If not, obviously I'm going to send you a voucher. Now I know you said you wanted some headphones. She's not on the call, this is so sad. So yeah, let me know where you want a voucher for. I will send you a voucher on Friday, so you can purchase whatever you want to purchase, but super proud of you. So Heather renewed with me recently, so we'll just continue together, but she's doing amazing work and I'm super proud of her. So well done, Heather, if you watch on replay. So what I'm going to do, I've got a few bits that I do want to run through, but that just sort of summarizes what I'm going to go through from a hormonal perspective today. Was it helpful? Feel free to come off mute. I'm going to come off screen share. If anyone wants to talk to me. I feel like I've done loads of talking. Was it useful? No, don't say no.
Useful. I think it's good to finally understand. I call it the hunger monster.
Yes.
And I do suffer really badly with that, and I also suffer with water retention. Yeah, it's just makes way more sense. And I also get really, really hot, and that makes way more sense too. And I always seem to know not to plan really go-y outy events because I'm really hot. Even if I'm wearing the smallest dress, whatever, I'll be sweating. I'll be really, really hot. So yeah, no, really good, really useful.
And I hope you don't mind me saying, Jenna, but actually Jenna tends to have fairly large scale drops post cycle. Like Jenna probably is one of those people that actually has a significant amount more calories burnt in that week leading up to a cycle. But I've worked with Jenna long enough to know her fluctuations with how her body adjusts week on week. But yeah, you do get heavily affected. But interestingly, it's actually been a great window for fat loss. So I'm sorry you're sweaty, but it's great for fat loss.
True.
So true. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to share? Has this been helpful?
Yeah, I find that really helpful. I think so much of what you describe, in terms of the symptoms really resonate with me. And I think I'm right in that phase at the moment. And, most of those things thought, yeah, that's what I'm feeling. I've been really hungry this week. And, it really resonates. And after so many years of having a cycle, it's really nice to understand it finally.
Yes! This makes me so happy. Sarah, how old are you, Sarah, if you don't mind me asking?
Nearly 47.
Okay, Sarah's 47, and this is why we have to teach fat loss like this. This is the important stuff, and this is why we can't fixate on tracking points at Weight Watchers or Slimming, because these are the fundamental things that actually you need to know about when you're going through your fat loss journey. These are the important factors that allow you to understand what's going on. I am really passionate about it, you can obviously tell. So whatever I've taught you should everyone should share it with your friends or your female friends, because this is the stuff that women need to understand and hear. Amazing. Anyone else? Has it been helpful for anyone else?
Can I just ask, is it the same if you're taking birth control?
I knew that question was coming. So with birth control, because there's so many different types of birth control, it really depends on the one that you are on. What I will do is another webinar on hormonal modifiers. So I'll talk a little bit about if you don't have a cycle, menopause, birth control, and so forth, because it depends on the synthetic hormone that you're taking. It does have a slightly different effect on it's not the same as what your body would normally do with your normal estrogen and progesterone. Sorry, I just got a message.
Okay, thanks.
You've got me. Yeah, that's fine. I've got your message, Sarah. That's good. But yes, Claire, I will. Yes, I'll cover that at some point. 100%.
Okay, thanks.
That's all right. That's fine. Yes, Sarah, I will absolutely cover that for you. No problem. Sorry, Sarah's just sent me a little message. Anyone else?
Just for everyone else's benefit, my age, great to have finally understood this, but I'm going to need the menopause chat soon.
Best I get preparing. Love it. You're in good hands.
Yeah, definitely.
I've done postmenopausal before, estrogen level, so I'm with you, girl. I'm with you. This is what's so good. I'm literally anyone that comes on board, I can relate to you, because I've literally been through all these hormonal situations. Been on HRT, been on the lot. Okay, cool. Has anyone else benefited from this?
Emily, I've loved it. I just have a question. The finger thing? So, do I need to be worried?
No! God, no. Absolutely not. And don't Google it, because...
Oh, okay.
Don't Google it, because when you Google it, it's because of this affects your mental health, or this affects this affects this disease, blah, blah, blah. And majority of it isn't science-backed, and it's a load of rubbish. So no, it was just a fun little thing for me to do.
It was good. I'm on birth control as well, so the next one will probably be good for me, but love the science behind it all, so thank you.
That's fab. No problem at all. Cara, Roxy?
I was just going to say that I definitely relate to all the ladies, and me and my friend, we always say, oh, I'm so hungry, I must be my cycle must come, and we're just oh yeah, that's why. But I'm glad to see there's actually science backup to it, and it's not just some old saying to excuse our hunger.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. That's good. Tell all your friends the science behind it. Get geeky with them. Love it. Cara, you're up.
Yes, yeah, I found it really, really good, really useful. And yeah, I get fluid retention as well. So obviously I know more or less when it's on its way, and I get really ratty as well. So yeah, it explains everything really well. So yeah, thank you.
And by understanding that as well, for instance, like Cara's going to do a photo shoot this year. So what we'll do is we'll factor it in on her 2 weeks of follicular phase. So she's not, you know, carrying water retention throughout that time. So that it's really great to actually know what's going on. So you can, you know, if you want to, for like a photo shoot that you're working months for, we will factor it in at the point when you feel the best in yourself and you haven't got water retention to think about. So that's really cool. Perfect. Right, some bits that I just wanted to go through whilst everyone's on the call. So we now do a workout of the week. So every Monday you'll get a brand new workout, and some of it will have a competitive edge, some sessions won't. So this is healthy competition. I don't want anyone getting like too into it and putting other people off, because that's not what we're about. We're about everyone being involved. But so some elements will be competitive, some won't, but most importantly, it's new variety every week, and we will deliver that to you every Monday. More so I'm doing it at the moment because of obviously our situation. When we go back to normality, I will try and keep workout of the week in, and I maybe might look to do like a gym variation and an at-home variation, depending on what structure you are on. But it's something that we can get our teeth into and enjoy week on week. Now, if in the notes section, it will explain how the workout needs to be done. If at any point any of that doesn't make sense to you, please pick up the phone and ask. Go on the group, type ask, write the question, so we can help you and support you to make sure you're doing it right, because we might use terminology like EMOMs, AMRAPs and stuff, and if you're not sure, that's totally fine. Just reach out and ask, okay, at any point, just so we all know exactly what we're doing. I don't know if anyone is on the call that supported Morgan today. I think she was supposed to be on the call, but Morgan put out, Cara, I think you did, Morgan put out a struggle that she was having, feeling frustrated because she can't go to the gym, which we all are, and level of support on that post was literally next level. So thank you so much, ladies, because you know, what you give out, people will give back, and it really supports me to be able to support others, and it is a good deed. It is a fantastic deed, and it will change someone's day around. So thank you so much for doing that. Really, really appreciate it. The new member site is live, only taken like 3 months. So the old member site was pretty, and I really like the look of it, but it was so slow, embarrassingly slow, and it used to crash a lot. So what I decided to do was invest in having it completely all remade. Now it's much, the design is much simpler, but navigating around it is so much easier. It's so quick now. So what I need everyone to do is delete their cookies or whatever it's called, their history on their phone. And then what I'll do is I'll put it as a post on the group, but all you need to do is go to the login page, get logged in, and then you'll see the new site. If you're trying to get logged in and you haven't cleared all your caches or whatever, the cookies or whatever, then it might still try and log you into the old member site. But remember, on there you've got loads of useful bits and bobs. You've got more yoga sessions with Melina. We should all be doing everyday stretch, especially if you've taken up running recently. I know I said that last time, but trust me, your hamstrings are going to be tight if you're running more than you have been. So please be doing your everyday stretch. You've got loads more recipes on there. You've got some helpline videos. These are videos that I've recorded over weeks and weeks and weeks, covering specific subjects. If there's something you're struggling with, you can go on the helpline section, look up, see if I've covered a subject that you're struggling with. There's loads of bits about. There's a restaurant guide, but obviously we don't need that at the moment, but it's there for when we do. So there's loads of bits and bobs on there, and I will start progressing in building out the member site as much as I possibly can, as quick as I possibly can. But there's loads of stuff on there, so please do enjoy it, because lots of work's gone into transitioning to put it on a system that's nice and quick for you. I'm thinking about doing a recipe of the week, where I launch a new recipe every week. Would people like that? yeah, recipes. Yeah, okay, cool. So I've done one for this week. It's a risotto. It's very good. So what I'm probably going to try and do is get that out at the end of each week on the Facebook group. And it's a case of swapping it for one of your current foods, like one of your current dinners on your plans, as long as the calories add up, and then that's absolutely fine. But I'll try and get that unrolled often, so you guys are interested in getting in the kitchen. Everything that I enroll, I have cooked in my own kitchen. I have taken the pictures with my camera and my photo boards. So I know the food tastes good, and I know it's not incredibly difficult to make. So I'm not just that's why recipes actually take me so long, because I've got to make the whole thing, and then I've got to photograph the whole thing. I have to photograph in the daytime when I've got natural lighting, because I've got a big Canon camera, right? So it's not a case of me, like, you can just buy like 30 recipes off the internet, which are, you know, I don't even know if they taste nice. So I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that you guys have recipes that I will eat myself, that me and Henry eat. Like we had risotto the other night. So yeah, so that's why they made some weeks I might not always be able to deliver that, because I do literally, that's the effort and work that goes into it, but I will always try, because I know you guys really like it. So yeah, I think that's everything that I've covered. So I've got workout of the week. I'm going to try and do a new recipe every week. New member site is up. So yeah, any questions from anyone? Anyone need anything? Anything at all? Ladies, I've got to say, this has been my favourite webinar. I've literally loved teaching this. It's so good. I feel like I should become a teacher. No. I love it, absolutely love it. And actually, before I started doing webinars, I did feel a bit nervous about taking them, but actually I literally absolutely love it. So good. And I could not have got through the sea without you all. It's been amazing, absolutely amazing. So anything, love, thank you, that's so nice. That's so good to see. Anything anyone needs, go to that saying, get on the group. Oh my God, we've even had one of Claire's cats attend the session. Is she female? Because she now knows exactly about her monthly cycle. Amazing. Right, I'm going to let you all go now. Lots of love to you all. Any questions, let me know. If not, have a lovely Wednesday evening, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, ladies. Bye.